Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. This is D1R 194 on the night of March 2nd. Not one, two great guests joining me tonight. Two guys I was really excited to talk about, genuinely. I say that a lot. I mean it every single time I say it. These guys lived up to the hype, lived up to the expectations. The first of which is the head coach and athletic director at Mayville State over there in North Dakota, NAIA, the Comets. Rocky Larson joins the show, and let me tell you this. As soon as that conversation starts, go ahead and get your nearest notepad, pen and paper, whatever you can to write down, and just get ready. Get ready to just transcribe the whole damn interview, because he was full of just what I think like a 100% genuine, honest, just great insight, great information, and great perspective about how he is running not only a football program, but an athletic department up there in North Dakota, and the way that he handles the relationships with his student athletes, his players. I think it was really commendable, and I'm really happy that we had him on the show. Later on, we've got Jack Lucido. He's a wide receiver at Wesleyan University, the D3 level over there in the NESCAC, and if I say the NESCAC and that rings a bell, it's because we posted about it on social media a week ago, how their conference has not allowed their football teams to play in the playoffs, which is outrageous. That should be your immediate response. Anyways, Jack, while also being a wide receiver on the conference-winning team over there, the Cardinals, he's on the board of the NESCAC Football Players Association that is petitioning the conference to allow them to play in the D3 playoffs. So a really fun conversation with Jack later on. Stick around for both of those. If you're watching on YouTube, bottom of the video there, you got that red line with all the video chapters, timestamps, fast forward to those, or get the hell out of here. But I would appreciate it if you stuck around. The only other piece from me today, not a lot of me talking today. Some of you might rejoice from that fact, but the only piece from me today is we asked you guys on social media what the best helmets in small school football were. I've got a pretty solid list, and I'm not ranking them one through whatever. I will never do that. I just, at least never. I won't say never, but I'm not going to do that anytime soon. There's so many good ones. But I think I've compiled from what you guys have sent in some of the really good ones in small school football. So stick around. I think we'll put that at the end of the episode because I really want to get to these two guest conversations. But subscribe on the YouTube. Would really appreciate it if you did. And be a friend, tell a friend. How about that? Let's, if you're listening this episode, maybe at some point throughout the next week, month, year, just let somebody else know that there's this podcast that talks about small school football. It'd be greatly appreciated. But other than that, I'll quit my waffling. Let's get into that first guest conversation with the man himself, Coach Rocky Larson. Joining the show tonight, the head coach and athletic director for the Comets at NAIA Mayville State University in North Dakota, member of the 2024 AFCA 35 under 35 class, Coach Rocky Larson. What's going on?
Not much, man. Beautiful day up here in Mayville, North Dakota. Been a cold stretch, so it was nice to get out and do some grilling and get on with you. We're really looking forward to talking with you here a little bit.
What does a beautiful day consist of up there in Mayville, North Dakota right now?
I am in shorts, and it is 32 degrees.
Yes,
and it
sir.
is not blowing 50-mile-an-hour winds. It's like 30-mile-an-hour winds today, so we're good. This is beautiful after the last 2-week stretch we just had.
Yeah.
So no, we're good.
I'm with you. Marquette, Michigan sounds like might be in that same ballpark. I got tricked into going outside because I saw a little bit of sunlight and promptly went back into the house.
Yep. No, that's exactly it. So no, we're gearing up for spring ball and getting everything rolling. So, or like I said, really appreciate having us on and hopefully get you a little information about NAI and some Mayville State Common football.
No, you will, because I'm just trying to, like I told you before, I'm trying to learn and learn about you guys, because it's I go down my list kind of, especially when we get into the off season, of conferences, teams, and people that I've followed or I think are, have stories worth telling, of course, and you guys, are right on the top of that. And I wanted to start, with those two titles that I mentioned, right? Granted, the athletic director comes with, my understanding, as an interim tag, right, for now, but those are two big jobs at the college level, at any level. How did that come to be? What does that look like for you right now, like you mentioned, heading into spring ball with your guys?
Yeah, and last year, actually, the interim tag was taken off.
Oh, never mind.
So
there you go.
I am the full-time athletic director and head football coach here at Mayville State. So
that's incredible, man.
Yeah, well, I had a really unique story. I didn't get to play college football. I grew up in Wisconsin and always knew I wanted to get into coaching. Went to River Falls, was a student coach there. I was actually a freshman in college. I was coaching the safeties. My second year, I coached the corner. So I knew right away I wanted to coach. Didn't care the level, didn't care what it looked like. And I was fortunate enough to go to River Falls for 5 years. Went to the University of Minnesota for a year, University of La Crosse for a year. And at the age of 23, I was hired as a defensive coordinator back at River Falls. I was there for 4 years. Absolutely loved it. Had some good years, and at the age of 27, I got my first head coaching job up here at Mayville State. And the guy who hired me, Ryan Hall, who's now at Rice, one of my best friends, unbelievable person, gave me an opportunity to take over a program that was struggling at the time. We knew we had the administrative support, we had to be successful, and hung it out. We had 3 different athletic directors over 3 years, and I want to be here. I do want to be a full-time AD at some point in my life. Now, I'm not ready to give up football yet. I'm only 33 years old. But when it was presented to me hey, do you want to take over and be the football coach? I said, absolutely. That sounds like a great opportunity. And I enjoyed. I got our baseball coach, Billy Tom, was the assistant AD, so he really takes over all my duties in the fall when I'm coaching football.
Okay.
And then once football is over, I hit the ground running. I still do all the important meetings and disciplinary stuff. We only got 8 sports right now, so it's definitely doable.
Okay,
It'd be
sure.
different if you're at a college with 26 sports or something like managing that. But our staff is awesome. We got a couple really good basketball coaches. Our volleyball coach we just hired. I feel like our athletic department's in a good place, and you have to have a football coach and an AD. And sometimes I got to wear the AD hat. Sometimes I'm wearing the football coach hat, and being able to have those conversations. So yeah, really fortunate at the age of 33 to have those 2 hats on and being able to lead an athletic department along with a football program.
That is something that, again, you don't see too often, and for good reason. I think there's a lot of guys that, especially in your shoes, without maybe this vast wealth of life experience in the grand scheme of things, that you give them that proposition, they would be so quick to turn that down and to say no, and rightfully so. There's so much that comes with that. Now, 8 sports, you talk about your split load maybe a little bit when it comes to the season. That starts to paint a little bit more of a realistic picture, I think, for me and a lot of people out there. But let's talk about this Mayville State team, more specifically, the conference you guys play in or played in, right? The North Star Athletic Association, and this is one that I've just been kind of learning about, this offseason. You have Jamestown, who joins briefly from the GPAC on their way up to D2 Northern Sun. That leaves you guys, Dickinson State, VCSU, Dakota State, not exactly enough to fill out a schedule, so prompts the move for the football programs of the respective schools to go and join one of the best conferences in the NAIA, the Frontier. Talk about that move, how it came to be, how it benefits your programs and the ones of what was previously the NSAA.
Yeah, if you got a half hour, we can go through it all. I'll give you
That's a great point.
Because I'm on the AD side of the conference move and the football side of it.
Exactly.
So, we had we knew last year with presentation closing down formally in Aberdeen in our conference, Iowa Wesleyan closing down in our conference, and Waldorf going to the GPAC. 2 years ago, we'd be sitting here having a completely different about how great the North Star is and everything's in line, and we never have to worry about realignment. And I think, Division II, Division III football enough. You look at the big time and all the realignment that happens there, it's catching us, and it's gonna continue to catch us. And you start seeing one move here, one move there, and all of a sudden we got 4 schools left, and the options for us were, hey, do you want to look at going Division III? Do you want to look at going Division II, or stay NAIA and find a new place to play? And my interim year as the athletic director, we had every conversation with anyone that would have conversation with us. And it came down to, looking at the UMAC and possibly going Division III from a location standpoint made perfect sense. Not positive we could have drawn kids to Mayville, North Dakota without athletic scholarship. And then the next natural one is, well, how about Division II? That sounds great. Then Northern Sun's an incredible league. Jamestown had been just accepted there. They're full. You start having conversation with the RMAC. You start having some different conversations, and budgetarily, we only have 8 sports. You got to have 10 to 12. We would have to have more administrative role. The bottom line check that we needed to make us go Division II was astronomical compared to what we did. So when we sat down and really looked at it, it was between Division III or NAIA. And last year we went to the NAIA National Convention, sat down with the Frontier, didn't really know what was going to come out of it, and we came out of it with an agreement that we'd play an East-West football schedule. That's awesome. Which sounds – it's great. Other than we open our year in Simpson, California for a conference game. But that's part of it. And we get Arizona Christian in week 2 playing a home game against them. So I'm really looking forward to it. Frontier's the best league in the NAI. I think that's no one can really dispute that. The teams that have come out of there, but we also get to be able to play Valley City, Dickinson State, Dakota State, and we're not playing each other twice. And
Yep.
that's the thing. The last 2 years we've played each other twice, and man, playing that NFL schedule and the college game and trying to be creative and trying to get, hey, we want to hit with a trick play here, we want to run a defensive front here, we want to hit a fake punt here. You shoot every bullet in the first time around, that second time comes around and you don't have anything left.
Chamber's empty, man.
We're really looking forward to being able to play a completely new schedule, completely new teams. We got to catch up scholarship wise, and we got to continue to build talent to be able to compete in that league. But we're really looking forward to it, and it's really beneficial to all our sports. Our volleyball team now plays 22 conference games. We get 11 home conference matches. In my 5 years, we haven't had 11 home conference matches once.
That's awesome.
It's a really exciting time for Mayville State Athletics to be able to join arms and go into the Frontier while keeping our local rivals intact.
Yeah, I think that's big, and there's balance in that. It affects more than just football. I think there's a couple misconceptions that you touched on both of them in my mind that people that are outside of small schools football might not understand. And the one is, catching up with scholarships. Just because that, NAI or Division II, you're allowed a certain amount of the school's equivalency of tuition. Not every school is working with the same ballpark here. We saw Coach Jack down at Valdosta State playing in a national championship game, talking about how that program has been underfunded compared to even the Gulf South Conference foes, and them making it that far is such an anomaly in terms of most programs that deal with that just do not experience that level of success. I think the other piece of that is Division II is not just adding 12 scholarships to the football program. That is across the board, even when you only have, quote-unquote, only 8 varsity athletic programs. The additional staff and resources, facilities that are required to make a jump like that is eye-opening. And I've seen some people and some schools in our conference here in the GLIAC that have maybe tried to do some movement, especially up to the Division I level. And you talk about take that and multiply it by a factor of who knows what, right? And a lot of those things taken into consideration. But the Comets haven't had a 500 season since 2016. After that, it was a major drop-off, for this program. You inherited a team that had a combined 4 wins in 3 seasons. And while I'm sure you're not at a point where you're happy with this program, there has been growth from an outside perspective. And, of course, I can only look at numbers and schedules and analytics and those kind of things. Give me a window of what has gone into getting this program back on its feet. And one thing I did want to highlight for you, by the way, I saw the piece about the GPA from a 2.11 to over a 3.0. That's pretty incredible in your tenure, and I think that's a great measurement of that success off the field. But, that aside, of course, that's a part of it. Give me a window into what's it's taken to get this team going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And you mentioned the one winning season in 2016. That's the last one since, I believe, 98. So we've had one since the turn of the century. And I took over February 1st, our staff of 2020. We had 28 kids on our roster, ended up cutting 2 of them, an all-conference kid right away. So we were going in. We're not going to class. We weren't doing stuff right. And we had to completely change the way we talked, the way we communicated each other, the way we did weight room. We weren't lifting as a team. We weren't doing everything that I thought was normal college football. So we really got in there and we busted our butt and got to where we wanted to be. And all of a sudden COVID hit and we split. I don't get to see the kids. So I'm a head coach at 27, just turned 28. During COVID's my first year with a roster of 26 kids, and we're in a complete mess. So that first year we took anyone and everyone. If you had a heartbeat and you could walk and chew gum at the same time, you were going to come play for us. We didn't care. We couldn't play scout team. We couldn't do anything. So we signed 78 kids that first year.
That's incredible.
And we lost that first game of the year to Waldorf. We played during COVID. That Waldorf team was ranked 24th in the country. We lost 40-50. And, I walk off the field and we turned it over a few times. I thought we had a chance to win that football game.
Yeah.
And I walk off the field and I got donors waiting in our office. I had $8,000 in checks sitting in my desk. Like, hey, coach, this is incredible. This is the most incredible game. I'm like,
that's awesome.
That's a game we got to find a way to win going forward. That's not the standard of what I was used to. And it's taken a lot of hard work. I think as I look at it, I've been really fortunate. Jake Witecki, our defense coordinator, was my college roommate. He's been with me. He was my full-time assistant at University of Wisconsin Falls. He followed me up here. He's been our defense coordinator for 5 years. Nick Fleslin, our special teams coordinator, he's been with us for 5 years. Kyle Otanera, our O-line coach, has been with us 4 years. We have consistency within the staff. you played college football. You got to have the same voices and the same culture and the same position. That goes a long way in trying to build and not hire new coaches
Yeah.
every day or every year. So we had a little bit of turnover this year. Coach Smethers, who was with us the previous 4 years, he stepped away to be more with his family and just hired Jack Mullins and Scott Olson. So and the other thing, our school has done an incredible job of giving us the resources needed. As we
Yeah.
sit here today, we got 142 kids on our roster. If you're going to have 142 kids on your roster, you got to have a completely different coaching staff than when you had 26.
I was going to say that's
So
quite a long way right there. I don't know exactly
that's
what
a
the
big
math
way.
comes out to on that. I just know it's a lot more.
Yeah. And, we just graduated 36 seniors. That's a huge class. That's one of the biggest classes we've had.
Absolutely.
We jump out to a 4-2. We started the year 4-2. Our starting quarterback goes down, All-American kid, and we're in the Wildcat. We're running anything we could to try to muster some offense and find a way to give our kids a chance. And how I think we're right on pace. When I took over, I said this is an 8-year turnaround. I told the president that. I told the AD that. And I don't think I could have said that today with how quick the transfer portal and people are. I think back in 2015, 2019, those some of those programs take a long time to turn around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not gonna sacrifice. We're still recruit high school kids. We still develop kids. We still redshirt kids. One thing I'm probably the most proud of, other than the GPA, is in our 5 years here, we've had 2 kids in our program transfer to go play somewhere else. Kids are staying here. They're having a good experience. They're not looking for the next spot. They're staying here, graduating, and believing in what we do. And that's a testament to the kids in the locker room, the coaches, the administration. But we're not going to take shortcuts and try to character, and we're going to recruit kids who fit the blue collar way that we want to play, that believe in the system we want to run, and want to be a Mayville State Comet, not for 1 year, but for 4, and get a degree out of here. So we're still a little bit old school in that sense. Do we take a transfer? Yeah, we'll take a transfer here and there. Am I going to take 20 of them? No.
Yeah.
We took 7 of them this year. So
Yep. Not quite Dabo. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good way to put it.
But I love that, the coming in and having this realization of all your preconceptions of what college football teams are and how they operate at any level. And you were at a winning college football program and one of the best conferences in the country, and probably the best Division III conference in the country. And of course, you're around these teams that have experienced success and have instilled that culture. And to have that moment of, not every team operates like that. And, you have to bring in large part, that to a different program. And the 26 kids is just an astounding number for me. But really the retention rate is probably even more impressive. 94% over the last 2 years, almost unheard of in today's college football. And you talk about how that's changed just in the last, decade or half decade. How do you do it? What extra steps do you take? I think the term re-recruiting your own guys back to your program is used sometimes. Do you find that is applicable in this situation? Or how do you really get guys to reinvest and to really buy into this program and to see that same vision that you have? Because it's for you to say, develop over 4 years and come out of here and graduate with a degree and develop you as a man is obviously ideal. But for an 18-year-old, that's a pretty tough picture to paint.
Yeah, and I think re-recruiting, like you hear that all the time in today's college football, is, hey, we got to re-recruit our roster at the end of the year. Hey, we're re-recruiting our roster from the moment they step on campus.
Okay.
The moment they step on campus, we're going to love them. We're going to teach them right from wrong. We're going to develop them as a person. We're going to develop them as a man. We're going to develop them as a father someday. We are going to do everything it takes to build relationships with kids that the thought of it going into their head, like, hey, I might have it better somewhere else. We don't even get to that conversation. That's our goal as a coaching staff. If we're doing it right, that first day of camp, everyone's, first practice. The first day we can practice, we're going to sit in a classroom. We're going to teach our kids how to write a letter. We're going to teach them how to send an email. We're going to teach them how to balance a checkbook. We're going to teach them the small things in life that aren't taught day to day. And we do something different every week. We do leadership stuff, and everyone's got family and how we operate. Those are just words. You have to live that life every single day, and you can't just be words on a wall. Like,
Very
you
important.
have to have kids over. Like, we got a bunch of kids from out of state. They'll come over to my house and eat dinner 2 or 3 times a semester. If I get a kid homesick, my wife Rochelle is going to bring them over, and we're going to make a mistake on we're going to do something to give them the feel. A lot of college coaches don't talk to parents. every parent in our program has my cell phone number.
That's
If
neat. Okay.
Johnny is sick or anything at home, give me a call and let's figure this out together instead of getting to the point where, hey, Johnny's leaving and then I find out. I want to be part of the solution in finding out what's going on with these kids and how can we help them. And our school's motto is the school of personal service. And again, that's not words on a wall. Our president lives it. He eats in the dining center every day. Our
Okay.
vice president's at every game. Like, we as a university do an incredible job of taking care of the students first. And it doesn't matter if they're a football player, doesn't matter if they're a basketball player. We believe in students and graduation and making better people for this world. It's so easy right now in this instant gratification and I need to play, I need to play. It's like, no, we need to develop men. We need to develop humans. We need to develop better people that are going to fit in society, and that's where we still believe in that. And it's hard. You know it. You've played at Division II, and you see kids in and out and transact. Like, no, this is who we are. And parents sometimes have a hard time seeing it. And but it's what we do. It's how we operate. There is no re-recruiting because that's who we are all the time. And
Yeah.
um, that people look at it and say, "How do you do that?" It's like we have real conversations every day. There's no fake. There's no. This is how it is, and I think kids lose sight of that sometimes. And if you step foot in my office, is always open, and you might be lucky to catch me in here. And if you do, you want to ask me a question, you're going to get the truth,
Yeah.
and you might not like it, but that's how you grow. So that's the long-winded answer of how we do
I
it.
love
And
it. I'm here for it, man.
yeah, it's we my father was a really successful high school coach for many years. That's how he did it, and I learned from him. I learned from Matt Walker. That's how he did it. And those two guys, I mean, the people I've learned from Jerry Kill at Minnesota. That's how he will. If you just invest in the kids, you'll be shocked at what they give back to you.
Absolutely, man. And that, I don't know how you spoke before the athletic director role, but man, I got to get you behind every podium, everywhere. We need you speaking at every conference because I think a lot more people need to hear that message, and hopefully that this and this platform can be a very small part of that. But I think, my big takeaway, and there's a lot of them, by the way. I should have just started taking notes when you started, but my big takeaway from a lot of that is the term re-recruitment, right? And how it really doesn't apply if you're doing things the right way, and how you treat your relationships with your kids. It should be the opposite of transactional, right? The term re-recruitment implies that those relationships are transactional and that you are approaching it maybe from the wrong perspective. The idea of recruiting is going out and trying to convince. And if you have
Yes.
to do that, you can certainly make the argument that that student athlete or that kid is already gone, right? And
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, and I think that you hit on all of those notes. You said it very, very well. And to go back to this roster, you talk about the size of it right now, how far that's come. 44 high school signees, 7 transfers for you guys. A great balance there, but obviously still, holding on to those morals. That's got to be a really exciting piece for you. Can we expect this team to have some good seniority coming back on both sides of the ball? What is the outlook on the 2025 squad? So you guys got just recently dropped your fall schedule, addition of a home opener. Talk about the attitude and the environment heading into fall 25.
Yeah, we get Isaac Foland, a University of North Dakota transfer. We got Kelby Azure, an NDSU transfer. Like,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
had some Division I, and that's, I think you and I talked about that before we get on here. NAIA football, Division III football, Division II football is really, really good football, and it's doesn't matter where you go or how it out. Like, we got Division I kids playing on a 4-6 team in the middle of North Dakota that are big time, and
Amen.
the one thing that when we took over, we had those 28 kids on roster. We only had one kid from the state of North Dakota, and we only had 3 kids from the 300-mile radius.
Wow.
That ain't going to be good enough. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. You better recruit your backyard. And for us to sign 28 kids out of the state of North Dakota, equivalent to the team we had 5 years ago, now we have 28 incoming freshmen from the state of North Dakota. That's a big testament to our staff. And it's easy to say you're going to win the backyard and you're going to develop relationships with high school coaches, and we're going to be you got to do it every day. It's the same thing. And we go into every high school, whether they have a kid or not, because those relationships still matter. And when they do have a kid, they'll remember that you stopped by and you had conversation. And we host different high school events, but that stuff that really matters. And we had 94 kids at the end of the year have end of the year meetings that were not graduating. Of those 94, 92 of them are coming back.
Man.
One of them's going to firefighter school, and the other one, girlfriend's transferring, and girlfriend's still undefeated, no matter how we handle that, going with his girlfriend. So, so again, we go through. We don't lose any kid to transfer or anything like that. We got a small senior class. I think we only have 11.
Okay.
So this is the last real small. We had a big one, and then we had a small one right after COVID, since we had the rosters we needed. So now we should have some balance in our roster to be able to produce 20 to 25 seniors a year. Everyone looks at us. We graduated 20 of 22 seniors or starters. I'll tell you right now, our kids, they aren't acting like it in the weight room. We're breaking PRs. We're lifting 5 days a week. Our kids are absolutely getting after. We only have 10 kids in study tables. 10 study tables is anything under 2.6 or under is in. We're getting it done in the classroom. We're getting it done in the weight room. We're volunteering, and I can't wait for us to get to spring ball. Hiring a new offensive coordinator and being able to put different schemes in and see who we are. It's been fun to watch the evolution, because we graduated 20 of 22 starters. Of those 20, 19 of them started since their freshman year. So we've had the kids, and we haven't had a depth chart because it's been the same kids every single year since their freshman year. And all of a sudden now we go in the weight room and every job's up for. We have one flex or linebacker that's really good. We got one lineman, 2 linemen that are really good. We got tight end that's really good. Every other job is wide open, and it's been really fun to watch our kids compete and drive each other to get better in the weight room every day. And you know how it is up in the Northland, and we don't have a bubble or anything nice up here. We go out with the weather goes. So as long as it doesn't snow the rest of the winter, we'll be able to get out and do some competition for spring ball. But I'm optimistic. We're going into a really good league. We got to continue to improve, but our kids are really fun to be around right now, and they're working their tails off, and that's what matters.
Absolutely. We're spoiled up here up at Northern. We got the Superior Dome, man, largest wooden dome in the world. And, people take it for granted. I have been to a lot of places that don't afford and can't afford that same luxury. So I know exactly what you're getting at there. But, talking about that 25 schedule, right, finding that home opener. And you talked already earlier on about new faces, right? And, not that your guys need any more reason in the morning to get up and get excited for game day, right? But I'm assuming this new slew of really high level and high caliber opponents, especially you're talking about the Frontier Conference foes, that's a great piece of it. And of course, you retain that pageantry and history of those traditional rivalry games. And that's why football is the greatest sport, is that you get one chance at those. And not to just diminish the NFL game, but I think that does water down maybe the final product of some of those rivalries.
No question. And the one game I think it's worth Judson, the home opener, playing on Thursday night, that'll be fantastic. Our kids will be really excited for that. But that week 2 game there for us against Concordia Moorhead, that's 45 minutes down the road. Division III team that has beaten up on us every time we played them, I think, for the last forever.
Yeah.
You go to Concordia Moorhead, Fargo. We recruit Fargo really hard. We've struggled there. One thing I said, if anyone will play us in the Fargo area, we'll go play. So we're playing a road game, 45 minutes from home, opening they got new lights, new nice setup down there.
There you go.
And we'll kick it off to a rivalry that hasn't been played. And when it has been played, it's been very one-sided since we've started it. So we're really looking forward to that game. I know they are too, to be able to get that game back going. And 2 schools that recruit North Dakota really hard too. I think their staff's incredible. And then Nebraska Wesleyan, us and Nebraska Wesleyan have played overtime games, I think 2 of the last 3. Another good Division III program that, I come from the NCAA Division III background, so I know a lot of those coaches and learned the NAIA as I've gone along through. But that's another good game for us. And then kicking off the conference schedule, and nothing like heading to Redding, California to get the conference schedule. I think someone told me this the other day, land mass wise distance, we are the second biggest conference behind the Big Ten in the country.
There's
with
no
going
way.
to Mayville,
I was about to equate it to
Arizona.
USC making the trip over to like Rutgers.
Yeah, it's like the Big Ten and the ACC with Sanford and Cal, and it's the Frontier. There's no Division II, Division III conference that has the distance that we can go to Oregon, we can go to Arizona. We're all over. So we're really looking forward to it, like I said. And I know our kids are looking forward to playing someone new too.
Absolutely, man. Well, I've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate you coming on here. And again, I really mean it when I say I think a lot of your messaging hits home. And it's one thing to, like you said, one thing to say it, one thing to put it on a wall, right? But when you've been there and you've had that consistency and you've earned that with your guys, and I think the results do speak for themselves. You talk about the retention, you talk about the direction of this program, the GPA. All these things are maybe small things until they're not, right? And it starts to come together. And here we go. We've got a product on the field. And I have to imagine we go back to that game, that opener where you keep it close against that Waldorf team, and there's people all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork to go and to really find ways of supporting you. That had to be a really gratifying moment. That was the last thing I wanted to ask you, was about that moment and feeling like all these things that you had been doing and the things that you had to struggle through and work for, obviously they didn't see all of that, but they're seeing the final result, and immediately it clicked the switch of this guy's doing the right thing here.
Yeah, and I'm really fortunate to work for a president who wins and losses are everyone wants to win.
Of course.
Everyone, no matter what you're doing. I might be probably one of the most competitive guys. I want to win more than anyone, but I'm not going to sacrifice GPA. I'm not going to sacrifice volunteer hours. I'm not going to sacrifice being a good human to get wins. We're going to do all that small stuff right, and eventually the process is going to take care of itself. And I truly believe that. I don't want to wake up. I would struggle to wake up being 10-0 with a 2.1 GPA and kids transferring 30 kids at the semester and then just trying that's not what I believe in. It's not how I was raised. I believe in growing young men, and football is the greatest game in the world to be able to teach life lessons. And it's sometimes with this transfer portal world and where it is right now, that stuff gets lost. Those hard conversations get lost. And I believe it's still our job as football coaches. You probably look back to your high school coaches, someone that you look up to, your college coaches, your position. Like those are people that sit with me forever, and I'm sure probably you too. That if I ever, my high school coach, luckily my dad, but when I got married, that called my college coach.
Yeah,
Those are
that's
the
awesome.
first people you reach out to, and that's where we still have a place in this world to be able to help young men. And but yeah, we're just going to continue to do what we do. Results are going to take care of themselves if we continue to take care of off the field stuff and we continue to bring the right kids into this program and continue to increase our talent level. But we're not going to sacrifice the degrees and that type of stuff
Yes, sir.
just for an instant win. So that's just not how we operate. And like I said, it's a little bit of how we do stuff, and it's unique, but we're proud of it, and we're going to continue to bust our butt at it, and wins are coming.
I'm all in, coach. If I could suit it up, I'd be there. Absolutely,
We'd
man.
take you.
Yeah.
We'll take anyone that can play.
you ain't seen an ounce of tape. I'd take me on campus. I appreciate you, coach. I really do. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your night.
Awesome. Go Comets.
Also joining the show tonight, wide receiver at Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, but he's on the show for a little bit of a different reason. He's part of a group of student athletes trying to fix a long overdue issue in their conference. We posted about it on socials last week. From the Cardinals, Jack Lucido, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, pumped to get you on here, and I kind of just led off with it before we got going. The fact that we're even having this conversation is ludicrous. It's pretty downright stupid, but I love that you guys have made it a conversation because if it was so easy, someone would have done it in the past, right? And, of course, the thing that we're talking about, the New England Small College Athletic Conference. For our sake and for the sake of my breath, we're going to call it the NESCAC like everyone else. But you and a lot of other student athletes in that conference, football playing guys, it just boggles my mind, not allowed to participate in the D3 playoffs. I'm going to tee it up for you. Talk to me about when this idea started to come together and what exactly you guys are in it for.
So the kicker from Tufts, Vaughn Seelick, he is the president of the NESCAC Football Players Association. And so that's kind of what started this whole thing. He reached out to head coaches of all the football schools in NESCAC. And so they kind of, I guess, chose a guy from each team who was going to represent the NESCAC FBPA for short.
Awesome.
So yeah, he started it. He reached out to us. So we have,
and you got the nod, huh?
Yeah, I got the nod. So I was super excited to be a part of this and hopefully make history because, like you said, it's something that definitely should be done. And if I can be a part of that, it would be pretty special.
So the head coaches, that was the first point of contact, and then they were the ones to nominate you guys. Was there any requirements? I know a lot of you guys are involved with your individual SAC, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee at your respective schools. Were there any kind of requirements, or was it just a matter of, this is a guy on my squad that I want to represent our team and their values?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. For me, I'm on the executive board at Wesleyan for
Okay.
SAC, so that's kind of how I was involved. But I'm sure for a lot of guys, it's just kind of being great guys who advocate for the right things for their team, and they're great leaders on campus, and represent themselves and their schools the right way. So we have a great group of guys, and we're excited to keep this thing going.
Amen, brother. And I think the only comparison that you really can make is to the Ivy League, right? And that conference, your conference has been called, is it like the small school Ivy or something along those lines, right? And of really just really high academic value, rigorous institutions of that sort. And the Ivy League argument was probably used and hung over your head for a long time. Well, guess what? This season, Ivy League, those teams are playing in the playoffs for the first time ever. And of course, that whole movement started because of a group of those athletes that came together. And I'd imagine that had a really big impact on you guys and starting to really pick up some momentum for this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember talking to Vaughn for the first time, and he was telling me, I believe he had connection with someone on Brown, I want to say, might have been
Okay.
Brown. And so he kind of reached out to him and was like, how do you guys handle this? Like, what were the steps? And they were saying it's like SAC integration was huge, and kind of just getting that buy-in from every single school was really what got the Ivies in the postseason. So that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Like the blueprint is right there, right? And now that's ridiculously easier said than done to go out and make a change like this when a league has been around for so long. But I'm curious, do you guys view it as, because it's not, I don't think it's ridiculous to see it this way. Do you view it as a Title IX issue?
I definitely think it's a equity issue. It absolutely is. I think every single other D3 school, their football program, they get to compete in the postseason, and we actually do get a bid. It's just our presidents, they don't accept it. So
That is crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're trying to push for. And like I said, all the other Division III football programs, they get the postseason. All the other athletic teams on our campus, they get to go in the postseason. So that's really what we're fighting for and pushing for.
And that was news to me. The second part of what you just said is that you're the only sport. You are the exemption on your campuses. What the hell is the attitude and the mindset from the other student athletes there? They have to be in this same train of thought of why is football the one singled out and really focused on? And that was just really surprising to me. I guess there's not too much of a question on the end of that, of all these other sports, even in the fall semester, that are going on to participate in football. From what I could tell, has only been, the one that has to be left out.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. It's people don't even really think about it. Like, we, over the years, when we committed to NESCAC schools and all that stuff, we knew there was no postseason. We knew coming in, but it's like now the issue that we do want to participate, it's like other teams are starting to realize it's like, wow, like these guys don't get the opportunities that we do. Like, they don't get to go to the playoffs. They don't get that opportunity. They only play in conference games, which is, I guess, a different story, but it's very similar. It's boggling that we don't get that same opportunity.
It is. And so those are conversations, like, is that something you talked about with the coaches when you're coming out of high school? That's something you talk about very early on of, we have potentially, in your case, a very good program. We'll talk about your team success here in a little bit. But even if we go on and do X, Y, and Z, are they very upfront with you in the fact that we will not be playing in the playoffs?
Yeah, one of the big, I think, selling points that a lot of the NESCAC schools, give to kids is, like, we have to treat every single game like a playoff game because we only play 9 in-conference games. And so with that, you can't afford to lose. Like, you really can't afford to lose. If you want to win a championship, you either have to go undefeated or lose one game. So their big selling point is, like, every game's a playoff game for us. We don't have, quote unquote playoffs, but every game is just as important as the last one. So
100%, man. You had a really good quote on the Around the Nation podcast that I included in our social post, but I wanted to ask, as you guys have started to gain some of this momentum with this initiative, have you garnered some more support for the cause, I guess, for lack of a better term, and how do you turn that from whether it's other student athletes on your campuses, coaches, administrators, or even just friends and family, how do you turn that positive momentum into something that really can go and make an impact, for you guys, your teams, and the other ones in the NESCAC?
It's been great, just kind of as this whole initiative has been growing and getting more traction. I think just having that, like you said, positive energy, positive momentum into getting everybody bought in and kind of understanding what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it. And then with that, we can kind of start to formalize it into specific letters that we're writing to presidents and to ADs and formal proposals that we can actually give those presidents and ADs and really make it an official and structured thing.
Is that where you guys are going to? I was curious too, the point of contact. I'm assuming, of course, is at the conference level when you talk about some of their administration and their governing body, whatever that looks like. But is that on a school-by-school basis as well? And I guess maybe part of the harder question is, have there been any administrators or people at the school level or maybe even at the conference level that have been like staunchly against what you guys are doing?
So it's
that you don't have to out individuals, by the way, but just very curious from my end.
Yeah. So I think, from my knowledge, I think all of the ADs are 100% on board. I know everybody. Yeah. So I know they're totally bought in. And I think kind of big next step for us is getting the presidents kind of more in the know of what's going on. And obviously they know of the situation, but I think trying to get them to kind of understand what we're trying to do and why we're doing it, I think will be huge when they have their annual president's meeting, when that's going to be, a big issue they're going to talk about and they need to talk about it.
When is that? Do you know?
I believe it's April 3rd.
Okay. So, and again, in a perfect world here, that happens. You continue to capitalize on some of this momentum we've got going on. The goal for you guys is as early as this year to be able to accept that bid as far as the fall of 25, correct?
Yeah, that's the goal, is that after that meeting, we find out that we're get the chance to go to the NCAAs for the first time ever.
That's going to be a cool day. I'm cross the fingers and hope that it happens, and you guys are going to do everything you can to make it happen. But that's going to be a really cool day. And part of the reason I wanted you on the show here, of course, your involvement and being on that board is important. But past season, you and the Cards, you earn your first outright conference championship in program history. Again, to your point, that is your guys' Super Bowl at this point in time, right? So obviously the elation and the level of just that emotional high after a big game like that, I wanted to ask, what was the downside of that? Coming off of, I'm sure there's a lot of that great feeling and emotion from a conference championship, but what's the downside of that, knowing that even though we finished on such a high note, we are finished? And then, of course, depending on how much you guys actually watch other D3 football teams, you guys get robbed of that opportunity. What were the emotions like following that high kind of come crashing down there maybe a few days later?
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable winning the championship, the first outright championship. It was absolutely unbelievable feeling. It's totally indescribable, but not getting the opportunity to show what we're capable of on a national level is, it's really difficult. It was hard to come off such a high and realize, like, this super talented team, like, we have so many assets, but we can't prove that on the national level. And we proved that we were the best team in the NESCAC, but the goal would be to prove that we can hang with those other Division III programs that do have a lot of success in the tournament.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I just have to imagine that would be that'd be a tough moment. You talk about football and sports in general are a great mirror of life because you have the roller coasters and the ups and downs, but usually you want to capitalize when you're on the up. And I guess the flip side of that is most players will not finish their career on a winning game, right? Especially when you're playing really meaningful football. So you can kind of find some solace in that, but there's really no moral victories when it comes to this stuff, man. How is your experience with SAC at your school now, with this Players Association, help develop you and make your voice heard? How do you think?
I think just it's given me a voice and kind of helped me understand that, like, what I bring and what I say, it matters. And as a student athlete, I do have a lot of say. I have a lot of power. And so using that to my advantage to advocate for important issues on campus, I think that's been huge. And then SAC, we've had 100% support. They're totally behind our cause. And so just getting support from as many people as possible, it's been great.
That is awesome. I was going to say, what is the level of support or even involvement from some of the other athletic teams, the student athletes on your campus? How have they kind of rallied behind maybe this cause? And what would you say to other student athletes out there that maybe aren't as involved with their respective SAC or governing bodies or those kind of things when it comes to being a student athlete at the college level?
I would say just to put it in perspective, what would it be like if you weren't able to participate in the playoffs? And that's the big thing. I don't like to be negative in that sense, but it's how it is. And so truthfully, it's just not being given that same opportunity. It's really tough, and that's the big thing we're fighting for. So I would just say if you weren't able to play in the playoffs, how would that be? That would be very different. And the season, the mindset going into the season of knowing, there's it's going to end right at this point, no matter what happens. And that's how it's going to be, instead of getting that opportunity to continue and prove yourself on the national level.
And finally, although I don't really know necessarily the answer, but that's why it's a good question. What can people do from the outside perspective? I mean, there's not much from an outsider that they could really do to maybe influence decision besides just be vocal about it. What can people do to help support you guys in your cause?
I would say first step would just be sign a petition. It's very simple. It's, very easy thing to do. That's not going to change anything, but just seeing the overwhelming support that we have, I think that'd be absolutely massive. And then in addition to that, it's just spreading the word and really just helping people understand what we're doing and, the reasons behind it. And that's like as much support as we can get. That's the big thing.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you, brother. I'm excited to see when this thing rolls out. You said early April, got that president's meeting, and then from there, hoping to get some really good news, and then we can start rolling. And now the attitude, you got one more year. Talk to me about the perspective of this could be, all things go correctly, the cookie crumbles the right way, your last year to be able to not only, one, have a voice and a little bit of a platform and start to understand and use that, but to also see the fruits of your own labor potentially in this final season as you go into your last year of playing college ball. That'd have to be a pretty special feeling, huh?
It would be absolutely unreal. Knowing that I was part of the special group who made this happen. And, of course, I hope it's the West Cardinals who are doing it, but for any NESCAC team to be able to be doing it, it's really special. And I just hope that the NESCAC, we can really be put on the map and put ourselves on the map.
Jack, you're the man, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for the time. Excited to continue to follow along. I'm going to go log off this and go sign that thing for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Sweet. Appreciate you. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.
All right, time now for what I think is one of the more fun parts of the episode. We posed this question to you guys on social media here. It says on Twitter, let's see something. Who's got the best helmets in small school football? And of course, I added on there too many great ones to fit in the graphics. If I don't say that, someone's going to get pissed off at me, but it really is true. There's so many great ones. You see some really good ones here just on the graphic alone, but I wanted to go through and talk about some of these helmets because, one, it's the off season and I don't have too much else to talk about, but also because I don't think we've actually done that on the show before. So how do we, and by we I mean I, decide what makes these helmets cool? What goes into making the best helmet? I think uniqueness has to be top of the list. If this thing is something that other teams are not doing, that elevates it for me. The color scheme is super important. The decals, very important. And then I think, of course, as a kind of a minor note there, the helmet brand and style, like what kind of, is it a Schutt F7? Is it a Speed Flex? What kind of things go into that, right? So let's start at the Division II level. And we're going to start off with a heater because you got to start out with one of the really good ones. Look at these red chrome lids from Virginia Union. This has got to be one of the best. They're down in Richmond, Virginia, a Division II squad, members of the CIAA. They made it to the D2 quarterfinals last year for the first time in program history. So they're rocking these incredible lids, and they also are just playing some of the best football their program has ever seen. Here's another really great shot. And again, like just the red chrome. The red chrome is so nice. There was even a couple of other great shots that I'm sure I'll throw in here as well. But I think we got to start off with that absolute heater because Virginia Union is one that you have to talk about when it comes to the best lids in college football. Now, let's go to a Division II powerhouse. Talk about the Gorillas from Pittsburgh State. Now, you might be thinking about a different helmet with the Gorillas. But the ones that I'm bringing up are these alternates. The white Gorilla. Oh my goodness. So simple, but just incredibly clean in my opinion. And it really just, it works. Like with their full uniforms and stuff, I'm sure I'll have some pictures up there as well. It really just works. And Pittsburgh State, a D2 powerhouse. They're the winningest program in D2 history. They play in, right now, what is the toughest conference in D2 football in the MIAA. Play in a stadium nicknamed the Jungle. And that's down in Pittsburgh, Kansas, by the way, not Pennsylvania. Don't get it twisted. Now, those ones are incredible. I want to also mention their typical whites, like not the alternates right here. Those ones are incredibly clean too. The script pit is really dope. I like those a lot. And then you have their usual suspects of the red helmets. These are the ones I think they wear the most often. Nothing wrong with these, but I think both other options definitely have these beat when it comes to the Gorillas from Pittsburgh State. But those alternate whites, my goodness, I remember when they debuted those this last year with new black uniforms. That is just an awesome look for Pitt State. Totally new decal. Like I had never seen that kind of silverback look before from the Gorillas. But let's go over to another Division II team. This one in Ashland, Ohio. The Eagles have two really sweet ones. Members of the GMAC, the purple and white are both really clean options. These are the whites right here. And one thing I love about these is how big the decal is. Like the decal is absolutely massive. The yellow face mask is a really sweet touch, but I love the fact the eagle is just massive on there. And it just commands your attention and looks really solid. On the other side of it, they've got this AU, of course, for Ashland University. That is a really neat touch as well. But I'm not sure if I like those more or these purples, because check these out. Talk about like a little bit of a chrome, a little bit of a shine. These purples are awesome. They go with their purple uniforms incredibly well. Eagle a little bit smaller, a little bit of a different look on the decal, but that is sharp. Very sharp nonetheless. So take a look at these. Ashland's been one of the better squads in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference here the last couple of years, a former GLIAC team making the move down there. But let's go down to the Great American Conference, one of my personal favorites. Let's stay purple. Talk about Ouachita Baptist, the Tigers, one of the best schools in their respective conference. And they have, in my opinion, probably the best rivalry series in D2 football, the Battle of the Ravine with next door neighbor Henderson State. They're tied for the oldest rivalry in Division II football. Those two teams are literally across the street from each other. They walk from one field to the other. But these helmets are what we're talking about today. Check these out. Purple with like the tiger white stripes on top. Really, really clean. I know a lot of you would probably think of like the Bengals in some respect, right? And I think what's neat about these is they look really clean with the purple uniforms, but they look solid with the whites. I think there's a lot of helmets that can't go both ways. I think these do a really good job of that. Just a really, really clean look from Ouachita. And when you think of Ouachita, you probably think about their games against teams like Harding, against Henderson, against Southern Arkansas, those kind of squads. But they really showed out. I really love this look from them. But we'll move over. Let's talk about a team in the PSAC and Shepherd University, the Rams. They've got some pretty sweet helmets. And again, given their mascot, I think maybe a kind of a layup with the helmet design here. But nonetheless, you still got to pull it off. The chrome of that like gold type right there, that is sick. That is awesome. And I think it works actually especially well with the flow this fella's got going on. So that's a sweet little deal. But I love these from Shepherd. A lot of you might know Shepherd from their quarterback, Tyson Bagent. He won the Harlan Hill Award in his time at Shepherd, the Division II Heisman Trophy, playing now for the Chicago Bears. This is one of his stat lines from his first career start with the Bears and their win over the Raiders. That was back in 2023. But Tyson Bagent is a guy that's really solidified his place in the NFL. They had quite a few players from this Shepherd squad a couple years ago that went on to go sign with NFL teams. Here's a quick look at some of those guys right here. So this is the team that has had quite a few NFL alums, some NFL products from this Shepherd Ram squad, and all of them don that incredibly sick Ram helmet. So let's close out D2 with one more really fun one. In the MIAA this time, Northeastern State, the Riverhawks down in the MIAA, sporting this matte black lid with the chrome green decal. And I'll be the first one to say that green and black, typically not my go-to, right? Typically not something that I absolutely love. These ones, I think they just work. And I couldn't tell you or articulate exactly why, but I think these are badass. I think they really work, and this kind of coincides with the big rebrand down there in Oklahoma with their brand new head coach and turning the program around. A brand new look to go with the new era of football there for the Riverhawks is a pretty exciting deal. Let's go over Division III. And when you talk D3 helmets, you got to start with the defending national champions, that being North Central. The Cardinals brought out this alternate black helmet with the chrome red decal there, and that's one of the cleanest in college football. Louisville does something very similar with theirs. And this squad down in Naperville, Illinois, members of the CCIW, they've won 3 of the last 5 national championships. And I should be able to find a good picture of him here. Their quarterback, Luke Lane, just won the Gallardi Trophy, which is, again, the D3 Heisman. You can see him sporting this helmet. But these black lids, man, are just awesome. Really love to see those on display this year. But when you talk about the variety as well, their white lids aren't half bad. I like these a lot. The NC crest on the side of these helmets, really clean stuff right there. But again, I'm giving the nod to the blacks. Both of them are just really nice looks in general. Let me know in the comments what you think your favorite has been so far. But we'll stay in the D3 realm here. Let's go now to the East Coast, to the Seagulls. We are talking about Endicott football. The boys over there have some incredible helmets. They got the wings on either side. And now we get to talk about some sticker game. I think sticker game is an important part of the helmets, but I don't necessarily want to weigh that too heavily, right? Because some teams don't necessarily do it. But these are helmets that can look good with and without the stickers. You see the wings on either side there. I'll pull up some other really good pictures here of this Endicott squad. I love their uniforms, by the way. Look at the wings on the shoulder of the green unis. They're in Beverly, Massachusetts in the Commonwealth Coast Football Conference. The stickers add to it, but I really think these helmets are just sweet on their own. The all white with the flare of those wings. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll absolutely do it. Love this look from Endicott. Love that for the boys. Let's go over and talk about these baby blue script helmets from Johns Hopkins. Again, black helmet, blue script. The black helmets must just be on the top of my list here. But in Baltimore, Maryland, these guys are in the Centennial Conference, or the back-to-back champions in that conference. And these helmets, they just take the cake for me. I absolutely love these John Hopkins helmets, and I don't know really what else to say about it. I think one piece that does make them unique, if you look at one of the more frontal pictures here, you'll see they have the one blue stripe and the one white. A lot of them you'll see like one stripe, or you'll have like a one solid color with white on the outside. I like the split two-tone stripe on these a lot. I think it really adds. And again, for some reason, like they're wearing the all-white uniforms, but the black helmet goes incredibly well with these. I don't think you can do that very often and pull it off. I think Johns Hopkins has certainly found a way to do that with these black helmets. Now, you see the other team in the frame. We got to talk about them. Mount Union, the Purple Raiders, have some of the best helmets in the game. And again, their helmets are plain, but when you see the skull and crossbones that take up about 90% of these helmets, it elevates it. It elevates to another level. This team and this program's got 13 national championships, over 20 appearances in the title game, 11 in a row from 2005 to 2015. They're down in Alliance, Ohio. And again, these stickers for me, I didn't want to weigh it too much. The helmets are still sweet on their own, but these stickers for me put it over the top. And you can see a good example here of stickers and sticker lists. Both good looks, but that skull and crossbones covering the entirety of the helmet, I think you just absolutely need it. Like, that is such a crisp look. Love that from the Purple Raiders. But we'll keep moving. Let's go and talk about the Corsairs from UMass Dartmouth. Take a look at these. A little bit of a different color scheme here. We've got that navy blue paired with what I think is really like a turquoise, a lighter turquoise blue, and then this really, really strong yellow or gold down the middle. Just an uncommon color combination that I really like, and for me, it really makes these helmets stand out. The uniforms help. I mean, these uniforms are so sweet from Dartmouth. Check these out. Up there in the NESCAC. Team has had a lot of success the last couple of years. They had one of the best offenses in the conference and in the region, to be honest with you. Okay, to close out D3, one of my personal favorites that I've really just become aware of, Grove City College, the Wolverines. They're building the program over there, and their mantra is brick by brick. Well, look at the top of this helmet. Look at the stripe on this helmet. It is literally bricks down the middle. This is a team that earned their first playoff berth in program history last year. They just keep growing. They keep continuing to build. And these bricks are very, very symbolic of that. It's one of the neater things I've seen, especially when it comes to, you talk about these mantras and phrases that all these teams have. How do you visually go and show that on game day? That feels like a really good way to do that. But a couple NAIA helmets to talk about before I close out here with you guys. And this is not a helmet, but I wanted to show the stadium here for Indiana Wesleyan, the Wildcats. Their program started in 2018, already a pretty dominant force in Marion, Indiana. That's their stadium, their setup. I've been there in person. It is absolutely incredible. It's one of the best I've seen at the small school level. But these are the lids for the Wildcats, and they are incredibly clean. You've got this gray, I wouldn't necessarily say chrome, but a little bit of a shiny lid with the chrome IWU, the W with that red chrome and the red chrome stripe coming down the middle. These jerseys just, they do it for me. These are awesome. Really clean, really simple, and they don't overdo it. They don't overdo it. Those are the gray uniforms. Take a look at the red uniforms combo with the gray. That's an awesome look. There you go. There's a really great shot of it right there from the front. And again, the uniforms are not doing too much. They're super minimalist, and I like that. It pairs really well with the helmet. And, no notes, no complaints. 2 more to go here. Let's go to the Frontier Conference. We talked about them a little bit today, having Coach Larson on moving over there. But we're not talking about Mayville State with these helmets. We're talking about the Orediggers from Montana Tech. That's a great shot of a good lid right there. The chrome silver lid with the orange decals. They got like the tools, the picks on either side there. And then you've got that orange stripe right down the middle. They're over there in Butte, Montana, I do believe. Here's a good look at those decals on either side. You got the MT from Montana Tech. Then you've got the tools on the other side. Absolutely love that from the Orediggers. That's an awesome look. And to close things out, we've got one more squad. Ottawa University. Check out this lid. You got the OU on the side. Again, something about the black helmets today really doing it. But the top of the lid, can you guys see what's on the top of it? You've got an arrowhead. They're the Braves. You've got an arrowhead coming down as the top stripe on the helmet. And I'll give you a little bit of a better view of it right here on this little commitment edit that I found. Check out the arrow coming down the front middle of this helmet. That is awesome. That's one of my favorites. That's propelled into my top 5, my top 3 because of that arrow and the clean look. You've got a couple different decals. You see the script Braves on the right side, and then the OU on the left. I love helmets with a little bit of variety like that. Absolute sucker for those. So let me know what's your favorite on the D2, D3, and NAI, at least that I've showed. And of course, I missed a ton because there's so many out there. So please drop a comment. Let me know which ones I missed. I want to review them. I want to check them out. I think it's just like a fun piece of small college football and college football in general. So thanks for tuning in. That's it for this episode. This has been Kobe Manzo and D1 Reject signing off.